Hello and welcome to The Ticket, the podcast where we explain the cutting edge of customer service and support. Today we're talking about a topic that will be on a lot of CS leaders' minds, and that's how to get AI buy-in from CS teams. We're going to be hearing the experiences of several CS folks across different companies, and I'm also joined in studio by our very own VP of Customer Support, Declan Ivory. Declan, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Bobby. Delighted to be here, and as always, looking forward to a very productive and insightful conversation.
So Declan, just before we start to hear from different folks about what they have to say, maybe you could kick things off by telling us about just how much the landscape has transformed in CS because of AI over the past year or so.
Yeah, a really good kind of area to kind of discuss. I mean, I think we all know that AI ML has promised so much for quite a number of years, but has really not delivered bar some kind of early implementations of things like natural language processing, sentiment analysis, etc. And then all of a sudden we had this kind of generative AI, large language model, ChatGPT advances, where all of a sudden the possibilities of AI are now actually a reality. And people kind of say, well, what's the big thing about generative AI? Why does it have the ability to transform how support is delivered? And there's probably two key areas that are really kind of top of mind for me. First is with generative AI, you can now have what appears to be a really human-like conversation, but it's between a bot and a human. But it is very conversational. It's very natural. It's actually a different way for a human to interact with AI technology. And that was one of the major breakthroughs delivered by ChatGPT and underlying large language models. The second kind of advance is that all of a sudden you can synthesize a huge amount of data and actually present a very accurate response to a customer's question using AI, particularly where you're constraining that large language model to use information that's really relevant for your business and for your customers. So those two key aspects of what has happened over the last year is really enabling, a transformation of how support is delivered. And you can actually aspire to having AI being the front line of your support. And really you can implement what we in the Intercom term an AI first strategy.
Okay, first, let's get to know some of our customer leaders we're going to be hearing from, who they are, where they work, and what their team size is.
My name's Ben Peak. I'm the head of support at Robin Powered. Been there for the last 8 years. I'm overseeing technical support and onboarding services. If you haven't heard of Robin Powered, we're in the WorkTech space. We are the leading workplace management platform. So today, support is a team of 12. We've got 2 managers, 10 reps. Onboarding services is currently 3 reps. And I built a pretty good rapport with this team. Everybody here has been here since the first day that I hired them. Not a lot of turnover. It's been a pretty fantastic journey with everyone here.
Yeah, so my name is Elli, and I work at HoneyBook. We're a client flow management platform for independent businesses. So our members use us from everything from initial inquiry to managing communication to receiving payments to signing contracts to project closure, and everything kind of in between and beyond. I think you'll find that my role at HoneyBook is a bit unique compared to other people who are deeply involved in the world of AI for customer support. I formally sit on our education org, so Help Center is really my bread and butter. I work very closely with our support, product marketing teams to ensure that the Help Center accurately reflects the product and can help our members better run and grow their businesses. So our education team is about 10 people, and we work on everything from Help Center to internal enablement to academies and live virtual classes. And our support team is about 3 times that. So it's comprised of about 30 people, and they utilize a tiered agent structure.
Kia ora everyone. My name is Carl Olsen, General Manager Operations here at Sharesies. We exist to create financial empowerment for everyone. The organization was born in 2017. Our co-founders at the time had dreamed to break down barriers to provide access for everyday people into the stock market. And since then, we've now evolved into a wealth app where we offer a number of products all around the world to create financial empowerment. Yeah, total size of operations. So we're 31 strong in terms of supporting over 660,000 customers around the world. The roles that they cover within operations, financial crime and compliance, dealing, customer service, settlement. We've got KiwiSaver, which is our superannuation side of our business. We've got a technical team and an optimization team within that as well. So that's operations overall. But when we're talking specifically around our customer service, that's 4 4 people in total. Intercom and AI has been really impactful to be able to enable scale for all of our customers in that particular piece.
So that's a wide range of companies and teams, huh, Declan?
Absolutely. And it's the thing that really excites me about AI, regardless of the industry you're involved in, regardless of the size of support team that you have and the type of support challenges that you face, there is some aspect of AI that will deliver benefit for your business. And I know we're going to hear more about that as we go on through this conversation today.
It stands out to me that these teams have always sat under different titles or maybe different departments, but that job to be done of like helping customers, educating customers, getting customers familiar with your product, like there's always been overlap there. I feel like you and I both worked on different teams where sometimes that all sits under CS or sometimes it's under marketing, but these blurred lines, I think, are becoming even fuzzier. And I think that's a good thing for the overall customer experience, especially in this world where you want to have this like seamless AI first overall experience. So yeah, cool to hear that wide range.
And Bobby, I think you've hit the nail on the head when you talk about customer experience. I think that's ultimately what AI can deliver. It can deliver a better customer experience. And as you say, like lines, traditional lines around things like customer support, customer success, they're kind of blurring in this AI world. Like you can really apply AI to transform the customer experience at all contact points. And I think that's one of the most exciting aspects of AI.
All right, like you said at the top, Declan, there's been this monumental shift in customer service over the past years. Let's find out what these folks' teams' workflows were like before the introduction of AI. And let's start with Ben from Robin.
I mean, so that's an interesting question. We were a little bit bigger than we are today. So to be specific, AI, Fin specifically, has not replaced anybody. And that's really what I want to try to get away from. A couple folks did decide to pursue other interests. But because of Fin's ability to handle the tier 1 stuff so well, we decided to try something a little bit different with our strategy and implement Fin 24 hours a day for kind of taking in that tier 1 funnel. And we're now actually able to point our support reps into the kind of optimizing to tier 2, tier 3 solution and the more technical stuff.
So that's interesting. What do you think of Ben's take there, Declan?
I love Ben's last point around getting the team focused on what I call kind of more value-added work from a support perspective. So a lot of what traditionally people consider kind of tier 1 support or some of the easier questions to answer, being able to take out all that work and really optimize your human support team to then focus on the more complex work that ultimately adds more value for your customers is really the right mindset. And also to Ben's point, like, you know, in his case, AI hasn't replaced people per se. It's allowed him to maybe deploy people in a different way, get them to look at work differently. And for me, that value add piece that, you know, a support organization can really evolve into is really critical and enabled by AI. And, you know, so absolutely Ben's points resonate.
Yeah. And anybody who's ever worked in the support queue, like, yeah, there is a satisfaction of like sending that macro, sending those like rapid response type tickets, but that's only fun for a little while. And after a bit, you want these more technical or these more ambiguous and challenging questions. And so while the nature of the work is changing, it is going to be more fulfilling for teammates. And so to see that benefit, plus Ben's point around 24-hour coverage, again, that would have taken a global team, hiring in different time zones, different shifts, and to have Fin there 24 hours a day for those fast ones, again, also great customer win. So definitely seems like a good marriage of customer experience, AI, and better human experience too.
Absolutely. Like being able to deliver 24/7 support without adding anyone to your team, like that's a phenomenal win for everyone.
So let's hear from Elli in HoneyBook.
I would say that prior to our investment in AI, our support team functioned pretty similarly to how you might imagine a support team about a year ago. And I say a year ago because I think that's very, very rapidly changing with the rapid evolution of all of these new tools and technologies. So our agents would receive chats and emails and rack their brain, rely on their training, or look through past conversational history or our internal knowledge base, come up with an answer, and kind of rinse and repeat. And one piece of this AI chatbot that we've tested and implemented that I think is so exciting is that it gives quite a bit of bandwidth back to support agents. It's able to handle very kind of the more basic how-to product functionality questions so that the support team can then have bandwidth back to work on special projects and engage in more kind of consultative, tailored support that I think is very, very rewarding work.
Oh man, I love that clip. And I feel like that really resonates with the experience we've had for our human support team, and being able to free up this time with automation to allow our humans to go do, again, this deeper value add work, whether it's getting in the weeds with customers and really like optimizing their setup or optimizing like how they can get the most out of Intercom, or even having this more robust, like out of the inbox work that they can do. I feel like since we've had been in these higher resolution rates, we've been able to carve out more time for our humans support team members to go work with product and R&D and be able to really be that voice of the customer and share that firsthand experience. And so again, it's like, this isn't just, humans are gone. It's like this changing makeup of the type of work. So I love that from them. What do you think, Declan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the nature of the support role is changing quite a bit in an AI world. And I think Elli touched on it there, talking about being consultative with your customers. And that's, I think, what we all aspire to, like being in the inbox, as we call it, is kind of a little bit relentless at times. There's a lot of kind of transactions that have to be handled. And when you take out those kind of easy transactions and you're leaving the more complex work, it is opening up time and opportunity for your support team to actually be more consultative with your customers and move beyond the issue that's at hand and think about the overall customer experience. What's the next problem that the customer is likely to encounter? Can we anticipate that and kind of guide them to avoid it down the line? So that piece about becoming consultative is then driving support to be much more of a value add center for an organization rather than a cost center. And I think that's a big sea change that AI is enabling. For too long, support has been seen as a cost center for many businesses, whereas really it has the opportunity to drive a lot of value. And AI is enabling that by opening up the bandwidth, as Elli has kind of spoken about, to allow people to be consultative, spend time thinking beyond the problem that's right in front of them and really look at things from a customer perspective and how can they help the customer use the product and service that they're trying to use in a better way. So, it's a much better proposition for support reps. I think the role changes a lot, becomes far more fulfilling, as well as you rightly said, Bobby, opening up opportunities to do out of the inbox work, even creating some of the knowledge and content that AI needs and uses. Like I often talk about, you got to feed the AI beast with knowledge and content. And again, you got to free up bandwidth for your team to do that. And, AI is enabling it.
Yeah. And I feel like we've talked about how AI agents are taking on a lot of the workload up front, but we also heard this bit here around like teammates struggling to rack their brains or to go back through trainings or past conversations to find answers. And again, this is where something like an AI co-pilot can help your inboxing teammates get those quick answers or synthesize this information across all these different places. So you're saving time there too, to do exactly like what you were saying, Declan, to like go deeper than the question that the customer was asking, or to be able to have the time and like increased handle time to sit there and talk to a customer around like how they can really get the most out of it. So seeing both sides of it.
Absolutely. Copilot is the ultimate search engine for support agents, so they can really get access to the information that's most relevant for that particular customer and the particular question that they ask. And it's really shortcutting a lot of the work that's done in terms of searching for information and understanding what can you actually use to answer the question. So not only does it answer the front, but it helps the support team find the right information as quickly as possible and add the most value then back to the customer.
All right. Finally, let's hear from Carl from Sharesies about their team's workflow and what that was like before the introduction of AI.
Everyone knows some traditional customer service models. So we had, 24, 48-hour SLAs, the language around that. Our model at that time was largely chat-based, email-based, so largely written communication, but it was all human-led, right? So a customer provider response will have 24 hours to respond to that. Our people at that time will be busy plowing away on the keyboard, crafting awesome responses in response to the questions that were coming through at that particular time from a customer service perspective. The team then also was a lot larger. As a result of the changes that we've gone through, we've been able to position our customer service people in projects, grow them to technical developers, and help them on their career pathway within Sharesies as well. So that's been really awesome to see. But in terms of like volumes and whatnot, average kind of chat message volume, we're looking at sort of anywhere sort of 49,000, 52,000 queries that'll be coming through to the team that they'll be responding to manually. With that channel was quite closed, and it was difficult without thinking how can we scale without bringing people in to offer more channels of support and whatnot. So we did have customers reaching out. It'll be cool to jump on a phone call with someone. But again, just based on the volume and SLAs and trying to track that, it was difficult for us to pivot and actually offer that service effectively back in that model.
Interesting to hear Carl talk about helping some of the team go in different directions and expand.
Yeah, it's great to see that career opportunities are opening up for people in this new kind of AI-driven support world or AI-first support world. That's really fantastic to see that. Also, I think, touched on the ability to scale your support operations in a very efficient way with AI. So yeah, some really key points there.
I love that first bit about the faster SLAs. I know for us, we went from like roughly 1 business day now to a few hours. And again, doing that at scale. So let's get to the crunch of the matter and hear what Ben, Elli, and Carl's experience was of getting buy-in from their teams for AI.
So anecdotally, I really didn't face any pushback, no real challenges on our end. We run pretty lean as is for the amount of tickets that we have coming in. A team like that will always welcome, in my experience, the opportunity to work on the higher priority stuff. Finn was pretty great for that, not getting bogged down in the day-to-day, like easy stuff that you can just point Finn towards a knowledge base for. So it's been a pretty easy adoption across the team.
I would say that I got very lucky in that both the education and the support teams were very open to exploring AI. But one thing that I learned very early on was that in going into these kind of initial conversations to get team buy-in, it was so critical to go in with a very clear and thoughtful testing strategy already created. When we were first looking at testing out an AI chatbot, there weren't many other companies that we could find that had done such a thing, and there weren't many industry standards that we could benchmark against. So it was really up to us to do that initial testing and kind of create those own benchmarks for ourselves. And then in going into further conversations, we could say, look, in this sample size, resolution rate grew by X%, customer satisfaction, CSAT shifted in Y way. If we're to scale this out to more members, we can expect these metrics to just increase exponentially, which is really exciting. I think that a lot of people fall into the camp where they see this new technology and they say, oh my goodness, this is so new and exciting. Let's just unleash the beast. Or conversely, they can look at this new technology and say, oh no, this is new and scary. And that fear factor can kind of creep in. And I think both mindsets are really setting the technology up for failure. It's so important to be very thoughtful about your testing and the implementation, I found.
If I was just to wind back a little bit further, so like we're completely manual in that particular area. We then evolved, like every customer support team, we introduced a chatbot service. But with that chatbot, you have to continually water and feed it to make sure that it's responding effectively. And it's quite single source type responses back for specific needs. So part of the change management with the people around that, and I can't emphasize how much you should spend time with the people around that to get them comfortable, to make them aware of what the potential is. But that was part of the story when we were discussing it. Hey, look, you're spending all of this effort and time honing in our chat service, our chatbot. What if we were to pivot to this, where all we're talking about is looking at how can we hone our content to then enable AI to respond effectively. So that was part of the change management piece as one of the pros. We spent a lot of time talking with the people and getting them comfortable around that, but actually bedded them in the project. When we were in the test environment, we did a lot of testing before implementing, and yes, governance and all of that was in place too before we actually said, yes, we're going to go this way. But we got them involved with the project itself and got them, they're at the coalface with our customers. And so they know all of those tricky questions that our customers ask. So like, by all means, ask AI that particular piece so that we can manage that effectively going forward. And the results were really great. We did have to pivot away from one particular piece because we're not licensed to provide advice at this stage. So we did write some hard rules around that particularly. But to be honest, that was the only piece that we actually needed to manage. I would say we're very lucky. We've got an amazing content team. And so I feel we were kind of ahead of the curve a little bit there, which helped with the adoption because we've spent 7 years investing heavily in our content. And because AI points to our environment to then provide a response back, that was just seamless and amazing. And the awesome thing about that too is if we ever did need to make a tweak or make a change, the thing I love is that it provides the source article back to the customer where it got the response from, but also back to the operational people. So then we can make an adjustment to, again, refine that answer for everyone.
Some really interesting experiences there. What did you make of all those, Declan?
A lot of really good advice there, Bobby. I think one of the biggest ones is around, it's a change management program. So it's not just about implementing technology. You really want to make sure your team are fully bought into what you're doing. So firstly, make sure you're very clear. What's the objective behind AI? Like, it's not AI for AI's sake. You're trying to solve some business problem. That might be scaling out your business. It might be moving to 24/7 support. It might be enabling the team to be more value adding. But just be very clear what your expectation is out of why you're implementing AI, and involve the team early. Like, very often they will have a lot of good ideas around what will work with your customers when you deploy AI agent and what won't work. So that feedback is valuable as well in terms of shaping how you actually deliver. Testing is pretty key as well. Make sure you're understanding what is this doing to the customer experience. Maybe think about conversation design from end to end and really consider, what is it like for the customer when they're interacting with this AI technology, which may pass over to automation, which may pass over to human support. So really think through that quite intentionally. So a lot of really good points about getting buy-in from your team. But the important one is it is change management program. You engage early, take the feedback from your team and really feel like they're helping you deliver the solution, which ultimately they are, because they have a better knowledge and understanding what's going to work for your customers.
Yeah, and just a plus one that I think like the testing and the content are two really easy areas where you can involve the team. Again, you can sit there in a whiteboard and make all the plans, but how is it actually landing in the field? How are customers responding to the automation? They do end up, if it doesn't work out, they do talk to the human. Like, those are all things your teammates are going to be able to offer really valuable insight on. And again, you can just like sit there and test and iterate. Like, you have to throw out any assumptions from even like 3 or 4 months ago. There's been so much change in this space, like in the tools and the technology, what customers are not only willing to engage with, but like what they expect to engage with at this point. And so doing that ongoing iterative testing for your customers, for your business is some great advice. Okay, well, that wraps things up for today. Thank you again, Declan, for joining me. And a very special thanks to Ben Peak, Director Technical Support at Robin, Elli Neeld, Product Education Content Creator at HoneyBook, and Carl Olsen, General Manager Operations at Sharesies. Of course, getting AI buy-in from CS teams is just part of the story. The other part is how to get buy-in from your execs. That's a totally different story, and we'll be back next week to dive into that with some other CS folks. So look out for that on your YouTube and in your podcast feeds. Thanks, everyone.